different. Always that over there both times. I just switched.
This July 25, 2013, regular meeting number 2 of the Fairfax County School Board will now come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence, and the performance of a national anthem by Miss Vanessa Estanier, a student in the Institute for the Arts program this summer. Vanessa is a rising 9th grader and will be attending Marshall High School this fall. And as we observe a moment of silence, let's remember the recent unexpected passing of Cliff Harrison, a principal at West Potomac. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you, Vanessa. The next order of business is certification of closed meeting compliance. In order to comply with the Section 2.23712D of the Code of Virginia, it is necessary for the board to certify that since the Fairfax County School Board convened the closed meeting on July 25, 2013, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board during the closed meeting. The foregoing shall also be deemed to include the certification of each board member who served on a student disciplinary committee that those closed committee meetings are lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Section 2.23711A2 of the Code of Virginia, and that only student disciplinary matters were heard, discussed, or considered in those closed committee meetings. Is there a motion? Moved by Mrs. Strauss and seconded by Mr. Welkup. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, Strauss, Evans, McElvin, Smith, Delana Colfax, Moon, McLaughlin, Hines, Reed, Welkup. Opposing, abstaining are Schultz and Stork. we have a new settings for the board members. So I'm a little confused with the names here matching. Right, thank you. A few announcements before we continue tonight's meeting. The board held a closed meeting and we just did the certified compliance. And if you would like to access tonight's agenda and related meeting documents, you can do so by going to the FCPS website, select school board, and then upcoming meetings and agendas. If you have signed up to speak before the board during citizen participation, please turn in 16 copies of your remarks at this time to the deputy clerk sitting in the section to my right. The FCPS wireless network and access to the internet is available in the auditorium. Directions for accessing the network are available on the table by the auditorium entrance. If you would like to review a copy of the agenda, any agenda item that is being discussed tonight, that information is also on the table by the auditorium entrance. Please turn off or silence your cell phone. Now we have a resolution, and let me call on Mrs. Church.
Can Dr. Ryan please come to the podium before I read the resolution? Thank you. So this has been my pleasure to help my community do this. We've long way around the bush to finally get here. And I know we had some hurdles to jump earlier, but I'm thrilled about this opportunity. So I'd like to read a resolution naming the playground at Orange Hunt Elementary School the Dr. Judy Ryan Playground. Whereas Judy Ryan served as the principal of Orange Hunt Elementary School for 7 years until her retirement in 2011, after more than 26 years of dedicated service to Fairfax County Public Schools as a teacher, assistant principal, elementary school principal, and cluster director, and whereas Dr. Ryan was a model principal, mentor, and inspirational leader to her staff and students, she pursued her passion by dedicating herself to the school community she led. She became involved in parents' concerns and sought equitable solutions that better serve the school community, her understanding of learning theories, familiarity with policies, past experiences as a teacher, and extraordinary interpersonal skills contributed to the successes of Orange Hunt Elementary School. And whereas she reached out to all students in the school and made them feel welcomed, she was a good listener and helped students with the obstacles they encountered. Under her leadership, she inspired many students to achieve their academic and personal best. And whereas during her tenure at Orange Hunt Elementary School, she strengthened the relationship between the school and community, she gave her time freely and unselfishly to many activities, often supporting the PTA's efforts in fundraising and participating in countless activities with students, from playing games at the annual Fall Festival to cleaning up the school on Cleanup Day. And whereas Dr. Ryan implemented traditions at Orange Hunt Elementary School that continue today, such as the annual Veterans Day celebration, where students in the school band and chorus perform patriotic music to honor the community members who serve in the armed forces, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Fairfax County School Board names the playground at Orange Hunt Elementary School the Dr. Judy Ryan Playground in recognition of Dr. Ryan's years of dedication to the students, faculty, and families of Orange Hunt Elementary School. I so move.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. McLachlan. All those in favor of this motion, raise your hand. The vote is unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
for
Dr.
this
Ryan, would you like to
wonderful
share?
honor.
Would you like to share a few words with us, or we don't want to put you on the spot?
Thank you for the wonderful honor. Children have always been my inspiration, and it's wonderful to be able to be a part in some small way of helping to build some future memories for the children as they play on the playground. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, and if there's any friends or family of Dr. Ryan's, they can come forward and take a picture with the school board, please.
Okay, for the next resolution, let me turn the gavel over to Vice Chair.
Thank you, and I call on Mr. Moon for a resolution.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Mrs. Potts, could I invite you to stand behind the podium? It is my great pleasure tonight to read the school board's resolution honoring Leslie Potts, although I really wish you could say, don't go. Mrs. Potts has been a valued employee in our school system since 1979. Except for 1 year when she escaped to be a Fulbright exchange teacher at South Hunsley School in England, she has spent the bulk of her career right here in Fairfax County, where she has enriched our schools and programs with her expertise, insight, leadership, collaborative skills, and humor. Mrs. Potts began her career as a high school teacher and department chair, and even served as a planetarium director. How many of us have that in our resumes? She has worked in many different important positions within FCPS until she finally became the Cluster 6 Cluster Assistant Superintendent 8 years ago. Mrs. Potts' bio is rich with designing, implementing, developing, improving, coordinating, and mentoring. The first time I came to know and watch her closely was at the work session in January 2004. Yes, that was 2004, and at the Burkholder Administrative Center. At an instruction work session, she was the main presenter of the professional learning communities and shared with the board members her experience of developing PLC at Marshall High School, which has later become a model for all other schools in Fairfax County. I was very, very impressed, to say the least, not just with her calm presentation skills, but more with the passion and depth of knowledge and experience that accompanied the presentation. She took our breath away. You could hear a pin drop in the room as we all hung on her every word and absorbed her enthusiasm. I knew right then that we had a good educator and a leader in Mrs. Leslie Potts. On behalf of the board, I extend my deepest thanks for your many, many years of service. And we all wish you the very best as you move on to the next chapter in your life's journey. With that, let me read your resolution. Whereas Leslie L. Potts has served Fairfax County Public Schools for 34 years with excellence and dedication as a classroom teacher, department chair, Fulbright exchange teacher, area planetarium director, special projects administrator at Rocky Run Middle School, area science curriculum specialist, assistant principal at Langley and Marshall High Schools, staff development specialist, and SOL coordinator in instructional services, principal of Marshall High School, and Cluster 6 assistant superintendent. And whereas she has epitomized professionalism in her work as a highly effective educator and a committed lifelong learner who led by modeling best instructional practice and served the learning and needs of students, staff, and communities with a great vision and focus on student achievement. And whereas Mrs. Potts developed secondary Great Beginnings Teacher Induction Program, initiated and furthered the work of professional learning communities, served as a project sponsor for positive behavioral approaches, led the teacher leadership development and teacher leadership demonstration grant programs, and co-chaired the teacher evaluation task force charged with redesigning the teacher evaluation process. And whereas she selected and mentored over 25 principals, many of whom were nominated for and selected as the Principal of the Year and Outstanding First-Year Principal, developed shared mission, vision, values, and goals as a cluster, implemented a cluster professional learning plan for school-based administrators and teacher leaders, and emphasized the critical work of the collaborative teamwork cycle. And whereas Mrs. Butts is a model of visionary leadership and lifelong learning, she has acted with the uncompromising commitment to student achievement through high-quality adult professional learning. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Fairfax County School Board extends its highest commendation and deepest appreciation to Leslie L. Butts upon her retirement for her inspirational leadership and outstanding service to the Fairfax County Public Schools, and for her unwavering dedication to students, teachers, administrators, and the community. I so move.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Schultz. And all in favor? The vote is unanimous.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is this. We're going to have 2 photo sessions, one with Mrs. Butts and just the board members and superintendent, and of course family members. Then second session will include all the LT members to join us. After that, board members will come back to their seats, and if they want to share some remarks, I will let them do that. After all that is done, Mrs. Butts will certainly seek your departing words of wisdom. Now, a little bit later, after all that is done. Okay, now will the LT members please join us?
Stay. Not letting him go yet. Oh, okay.
Mr. Tyson? Come on.
Danny, get down.
I know Mr. McElvin has been very anxiously waiting to say more than a few words. No, we are going to say a few words first and then hear from her. Okay, Mr. Schultz?
First of all, Ms. Butts, if we had a Purple Heart to give you, in addition to all of that, we would, but it is a virtual Purple Heart for being the Cluster 6 superintendent, having to put up with some of your more robust school board members. We hope that's not why you're leaving. It has been a true pleasure running a campaign and then coming into probably, and I'm probably going to get myself in trouble, one of the most well-organized, stable clusters in this entire school division. And I felt lucky every time we had a board meeting, and we had some real challenges some places in this division. And I felt like we were always blessed in Cluster 6, and it was really because of Leslie's leadership. And when I had the opportunity to go to a Cluster 6 breakfast at the end of the school year last year, I saw the even hand with which she communicated, led, mentored, and guided the people who were not under her but were with her. And you never led as a professional at the top. You led with. And it was obvious. It was obvious in the performance of your schools. It was obvious in the professional well-being of the people in Cluster 6, the stability, and you will truly, truly be missed. And we're losing really one of the greats in your departure. So we're sorry you're going, and we hope that you'll be around for, a coffee now and again. But you leave Cluster 6 in wonderful, wonderful shape, and that's the very best that you could give.
Thank you.
Mrs. McLachlan?
As Ms. Schultz noted, she and I had the great pleasure of sharing you and Cluster 6. And I won't repeat what she said, but warmly endorse everything that she said so far. And I just want to add that, again, as a new school board member, what I will miss most is how deeply you care about every family, every student, and every employee, especially in the cluster that you so beautifully led all these years. I was always so grateful when I would call you with a concern. The sensitivity and the thoughtfulness that you displayed made my work as a school board member all the more meaningful. And I'm only sorry that I only got to enjoy your wonderful role modeling for the 18 months that I've been on the board so far. But I want to thank you as both a parent, a school board member, and as a woman for the incredible leadership you have exemplified in your career. And I really hope you will continue to stay in touch with all of us here, because as Ms. Schultz said, we will miss you greatly, and we're so thankful for everything you've given us.
Thank you, Megan.
Mr. McElvin?
Thank you, Mr. Moon. So, Leslie and I go way back. It's rare that a student can rise to be the boss of their former high school principal. And I think this is one of those rare circumstances, but I attribute that all to Leslie's educational leadership. And, I was trying to think back on some funny or embarrassing stories about you, because everyone has funny or embarrassing stories about their high school principals. But, unfortunately for the audience, I couldn't think of any. And I think that really speaks to your leadership style as being someone who was no fuss. You were all about getting work done and really ensuring that students had the best learning experience possible. And I remember the first time, as a school board member, you invited me into your office, and you showed us the frame diagram that you had used when you were working on the developing the PLC model with some of my former teachers. And it was just so powerful to see that you valued that work so much in order to give it a place on your wall, and that you used, it was something that you used in helping to educate me as a student. So I do want to thank you for all you've given our system over these many years, and I look forward to seeing you at future reunion gatherings for Marshall High School. So you will be missed. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Mr. Strauss.
Thank you. Leslie, I knew you as an assistant principal. And when Betsy Goodman left to become a cluster assistant superintendent, we first started that, then you were appointed principal at Marshall. And yes, that was even before you, Ryan. I remember well that work session when you showed us the power of an entire faculty working together and focusing on each individual student's strengths and weaknesses. That was, I think, a turning point for the school system. Your instructional leadership at that moment was amazing. We were thrilled to see what you had done, and you were able to show us individually how well each one of your students was doing and how they improved as a result of what you were developing, what you were doing with your faculty at Marshall. I sometimes wonder if this is even before the DeFores had invented the name professional learning community. I don't know. But I think all of us in Fairfax County, we were stunned at what an amazing thing you had done at Marshall High School. You were the first in this county, I think the first in the region, and you showed us the way. It was amazing. I think I even sent my husband and his co-author to come and take a look at what I said. This is going to be the next chapter in how we help individual students, not just groups or averages, but individual students. That was just stunning. And we all, I think the entire school division, owes tremendous gratitude to you, Leslie, because you were the one that stepped out and showed us the way. So it was really great. You and I also share a love for theater, and we see each other in the community every now and then. But you have been a consummate teacher, wonderful parent and community member in support of theater, which is cool. But you have been a real leader. And I admire you tremendously for what you've done for all of us in Fairfax County. So your legacy is huge. We'll miss you.
Thank you so much, Janie.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kaiser.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, you can measure the success of a school leader by their impact. And I will tell you that Leslie Butts has had an enormous, very positive impact on the school system, not only in her role as a principal, very successful principal, and her work with children, but I think even more importantly at this point is the way that she's mentored and coached and developed the leaders that exist in our school system. And I know she's, I always ask principals and leaders when I hire them, how many people that have worked under you have become principals? And that I think is probably immeasurable with you, Leslie. You have touched, I know, the lives of so many wonderful leaders and educators in this system. So, and I think most importantly, you've modeled to them how to be a steady, very focused leader, and where children are always at the heart of every decision that we make. And so you have had a very positive impact on this school system, and your very positive impact will be felt for many, many years to come. My only regret is I didn't have an opportunity to work with you, and it was only a very short amount of time. But you have so much to be proud of with the work that you've done in this organization and the very positive place we're in because of many of your contributions. So we wish you very, very well in your retirement and lots of great things ahead for you. We hope to see you around, and hopefully at some point in the near future we can have you back helping us and getting you back engaged in the work. But you'll be sorely missed.
Thank you, Dr. Garza.
Mr. Becker.
Leslie, when I was first elected, I remember meeting in your office and having some philosophical conversations about education, and I know that your vision and mine coincide, and there's a lot of work to be done, but I just want to say, first of all, that I'm extremely hopeful that this board, the new superintendent, the leadership team are going to be moving forward to make this an even greater educational institution, and it's the one that I know that you have, that vision is in your head, so I want to reassure you about that. I think you exemplify the best of FCPS. If we were to make a poster child of the FCPS employee, that would be you. You're very professional, and you've earned the respect and admiration of your peers and the folks that have worked for you. And it's very clear the impact that you've made on hundreds, thousands of lives. Finally, I'd just like to say a couple of words to your daughters, especially. As I'm going through this moment, I have a personal regret. My dad retired from Ohio State as professor for 25 years, and I said, okay, Dad, you're retiring. And I didn't go to his event like this. And I think you're going to be so happy that you were here to see your mother honored by her peers and see what an impact that she's had on so many people, and you can be extremely proud.
Oh boy, Mr. Wyckoff. Anyone else? Now, Mrs. Butts, it's your turn.
I am just deeply humbled, and I truly am with the comments tonight. I shared with beginning principals today, every year Terry Breeden has a luncheon for the leadership team to meet with beginning principals, and it's one of the highlights of the year because they're so eager and they're so ready to launch in truly what's going to be the best job that they ever hold in the school system. And they got to hear from Dr. Garza some lessons in leadership. And I was sitting with my 6 new principals and talking, just introducing myself to the principals. And I shared with them that I started my journey in FCPS in 1961 as a first grader at Germantown Elementary School. My parents actually moved to Fairfax County to teach high school in 1958, when this school system's population was 47,000 students, and the enrollment growth was projected to be 5,000 students a year for the next 3 years. There was a huge growth in student enrollment at the end of the 50s. My father was sharing with me the other day that he had a conversation with the head of personnel, walked into her office, and they had a conversation. She handed him a contract. That was the personnel department. When my father first got a contract, he turned it down. He could make more money and therefore afford to go to graduate school at night by continuing to work in the mines. But my mother had previously worked on the isolated island of Chincoteague before she had a college diploma. And she knew what opportunities this growing school system would afford to her 2 young children. She saw the contrast and the opportunity in FCPS. They turned the car around as they were driving back the hills of West Virginia, and my father began his career as a Fairfax rebel and my mother as an Annandale Adam. Fast forward to 2013, and I have been the beneficiary of that decision in countless ways. I've attended FCPS schools and had some of the best teachers in the world. My children have graduated from FCPS, and both of them have the full IB diploma, an internationally recognized diploma. They're still cheering that, and so is their mother. They have had teachers who were positive adult role models who helped Sam and I guide them to become intelligent, compassionate, responsible young women. We have been a community who have reared these children. FCPS has afforded me the privilege to teach and lead in these schools. I can honestly say that I have loved every minute of that work. I have a passion for it. It is my element. And in the past 34 years in FCPS, I have worked among some of the most interesting and talented educators in the world. I'd like to publicly thank my colleagues on the leadership team for your tireless commitment to the ongoing improvement of FCPS as a learning organization, not just for children, but for adults as well. 8 years of working on your team has made me a better educator. I'd also like to thank the school board for hiring Dr. Karen Garza. When we first met, I have to tell you, I was so energized by our conversation about teaching and learning that I told her if I didn't retire now, I would work for her for 10 more years. She's all about teaching and learning. We kind of had a mind meld. My greatest joy as an educator, and my principals out there have heard me say this over and over again, has been building high-performing teams of people to achieve lofty goals for students. I was in downtown Vienna just the other day and recently heard that familiar sound, Mrs. Butts. You know, you heard it at the mall, you heard it at the pool, Mrs. Butts. It was one of my former students, and we stopped to talk about the kids we knew and what they were doing now, and had fun in sharing that. Some of them were moms, some of them were serving in Afghanistan, a few of them were professional actors. One of them got Congress to change the quote on the MLK memorial. Rachel Manteuffel. One of them's on the school board. And this young woman is a teacher in FCPS. As we were catching up, I was reminded of the big dreams the team of teachers and parents at that school have for these young people, and how we worked so hard to help them achieve these outcomes we were talking about on the street in Vienna. It was such a good feeling, and I believe in the audience, one of those parents, Sonia Guzman, my PTA president, who worked so tirelessly with me night after night at PTA meetings to make sure everything we wanted to accomplish for our children, we were able to do. I'm also reminded of that quote, and Rich, I had to work hard to find a quote you haven't used. But one of my favorite quotes is the one by Marianne Williamson, her quote about our deepest fear. Part of the quote is, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And while our greatest joy can be the accomplishment of goals by the collaboration of diverse and thoughtful, committed people, we must always remember that in our position as educators and stewards of this great school system, we have the power and the responsibility to influence with every word and action we convey. Our children are always learning from us. As you move forward in the next phase of rapid growth in FCPS, and you know, we have it, we're back to that add 1,000, 2,000 a year. My belief in this leadership team and the school board is that you will continue to develop as a high-performing team. And my request is that in that hard work of becoming the collaborative team, that you continue to focus on, Mr. Velkoff, the lofty goals of increasing academic rigor and relevance for our 21st century students, the ones who will compete in the global market and who will need to think creatively about solutions to problems we don't even know exist at this point. And I implore you to close the achievement gap in FCPS. It's hard work. We're studying the research. It is the work that we must do in the school system. Those who've worked closely with me know that I have sayings or rules that I repeat over and over again to convey leadership lessons that I've learned over my career that I think are important. Things like, first, do no harm, safety first, lose your cool and you lose your control, when in doubt, don't hire, stop for lunch. Remember to laugh. School is fun. Learn from my mistakes. I make some. Feed your high flyers. We have high flyers in FCPS. Be sure to keep them actively engaged in our work. Phyllis, close your ears. All's fair in love-worn staffing. When you're competing with high school principals, it's true. Always, always check references, but never, ever give a false reference. Ever. Your integrity is too important. And life's priorities, in priority order, are number 1, your health, number 2, your family, and number 3, a very close third, is FCPS. I'm at the point in my life where I need to pay attention to my own rule about life's priorities, particularly the one about care of my family. Any success that I've experienced in FCPS is a direct result of the support of my home team. My 2 wonderful daughters, Natalie and Jordan, who have put up with far too many plates of spaghetti or 45-minute restaurant meals before Mom had to be back for night meetings. My husband, Sam, who is still the one after 38 years. And my dog, Isaac. Man, what a stress reliever. I will take a pause in my passion for education to take care of my parents. My father is with us tonight. And to thank them for the FCPS journey they started me on so long ago. Thank you, Chairman Moon, school board members, Dr. Garza, leadership team members, Cluster 6 Director Amy Holla, my partner, Denny Berry, my thought partner, Cluster 6 EAA, Mary Ellen Hook, who's home with her granddaughter, Cluster 6 principals and school-based leaders, and all FCPS employees and families for a rich and rewarding career. Thank you.
The board will not take a short recess. I am going to go out of order a little bit. So before we do a citizen participation, I would have an important personal action to take. Even before I get to personal action, let me recognize a young man, Boy Scout, from troop number 146, Chantilly, Virginia, working toward the badge for citizenship and community. Would you like to stand? Thank you for joining us this evening. Then let me call on Mr. Schultz.
And for anybody who's watching, and that there's a continuity between what we were doing before the break and now, this is where we get down to a model of efficiency. And to our dear Miss Butts who just left, it's not that it's out with the old and in with the new, but that's the way it goes. So I'm thrilled to be able to make this motion. I move to appoint Dr. Angela Gwynn Atwater as the Cluster 6 Assistant Superintendent for the Lake Braddock, Robinson, West Springfield Pyramid, effective August 1st, 2013, and authorize the chairman to execute a contract reflecting this action.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. McLaughlin. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand, please. Votes unanimous. Congratulations, Dr. Atwater. Dr. Weather, come to the podium. Would you want to say hello to FCPS?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Garza, Chairman Moon, Vice Chair Fairfax, and the members of the Fairfax County School Board. I'm going to detour slightly from my prepared comments to say that after hearing the resume, the very impressive resume of Leslie Butts, I have an incredible, incredible pair of shoes to fill. But I figured out very quickly, if I follow her lead, all will be well. I would like to take this moment to express my sincere gratitude for this opportunity to serve the students, teachers, principals, central office, school board, and community of Fairfax County. It will be my privilege to serve in such a stellar school system, and I can assure you that I will do so with a sense of pride and fidelity. Thank you again, and I am looking forward to being a part of the Fairfax County school community.
Thank you. We welcome you. Isn't that wonderful? Work goes on. Next, we have a citizens participation. Fairfax County citizens who would like to address the school board should arrange to be placed on the speakers list by signing up online at www.fcps.edu or by calling the school board office at 571-423-1075. If the concern is a group concern, please consider appointing a spokesperson. And while the spokesperson is speaking, those in support may stand to show their support. The school board will not hear statements involving issues that have been scheduled for public hearings, such as capital improvement program, budget, and boundaries, or personal attacks on any person. Complaints regarding individual students who are school-based employees should not be raised at public meetings. Any such concern should be directed to the appropriate school principal or other school officials. Citizens are encouraged to write the school board on any school-related topic. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to not more than 3 minutes and provide at least 16 copies of their presentation for distribution to the board. Tonight, 7 citizens have signed up to address the board. Nikki Pope, Stephen Greenberg, Sonia Guzman, Beverly Dranko, George Becerra, Mark Miana, and Jeremiah Davis. Let me call Nikki Pope and Stephen Greenberg and Sonia Guzman to come forward. And the first speaker will be Nikki Pope.
Hello, my name is Nikki Pope. I'm a rising junior at Marshall High School, and I'm so excited to be here to thank you for selecting our school for the pilot lunch program. Dr. Garza, welcome to Fairfax County. Chairman Moon and school board members, thank you for having us here to speak today, and thank you for your support of our new Statesman Station, the name students selected for our pilot soup, salad, and sandwich buffet bar. Students at Marshall support more healthful food choices and want to expand our salad bar to include a wider variety of options. The official ribbon-cutting celebration for the opening of the Statesman Station is Thursday, September 12th. Please put it on your calendars. We'd love to see you there. We also thank our principal, Mr. Pearson. He enlisted the talents of Marshall students at every opportunity. As examples, students from our Culinary Academy created menu selections for the Statesman Station and will provide refreshments at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Marshall students participated in a contest to create the name, logo, and awning for the bar. And tonight, to spread the word about the pilot and to thank the school board and Food and Nutrition Services for their support, we unwrap a recording written and performed by Marshall Theater and Music students with the creative assistance of Mr. Horn, our English teacher. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, we will perform it live. Marshall students are committed to making our pilot a success. Thank you for all you have done, and we hope this is just the beginning. And now, let's listen to the rap.
Hey you guys, I just can't wait. Come on, let me fill my plate. Sweep the nation with the Statesman Station.
School nutrition needs some switching. Introducing Marshall's Pilot Kitchen.
We love the cookies, but they're not sufficient. We need veggies to make our bodies efficient.
Roll my chicken in a wrap. Don't jam it in a nugget. Get hyped for healthy snacks. Statesman Station, we love it.
Come on, we'll give you the scoop. For sandwiches, salad, and soup.
I just can't get enough of this. It's the healthiest. Same old foods are still yesterday. Listen to me when I say, hey you guys, I just can't wait. Come on, let me fill my plate. Sweep the nation with the Statesman Station.
Pumped and thrilled for food that's the freshest. Real kids, real food, yeah, that's our message.
Gotta work hard just to make the grade. We need real food to ditch the fame.
For schoolwork, homework, sports or play. Hey, salad bar's open, get out of my way.
Come on, we'll give you the scoop. For sandwiches, salads, and soup.
If I'm gonna help my brain come to fruition, I'm gonna have to feed it quality nutrition.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
So when's your next rehearsal? Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Steven Greenberg.
Dr. Garza, Chairman Moon, esteemed school board members, the distinguished Mr. Ash. I'm Steve Greenberg, President of the Fairfax County Federation of Teachers, speaking to you tonight on 5.05 TJ and 4.01 final budget review. We recommend the school board accept the VDOE designation of FCPS as the governor's regional school for 2013-14. Certainly, the additional state funding is important considering our budget. The visibility and status gains are also relevant. However, the most important reason to have TJ maintain its governor's school designation is because it provides students the opportunity to attend a specialized high school from outside FCPS. It brings us closer to what world-class education is. It reflects what we value. That's what makes that school special. We have great high school teachers, students, and programs all over this county. TJ models the best we can achieve, not just academically, but socially. Sure, perhaps some other counties need to step up and get their own governor's school, but then some others don't have that option, nor do their students. The inclusiveness of TJ, different students coming together to share and learn, that's what's special. We need more diversity at TJ, not less. Diversity has many considerations, many manifestations. I'm hoping maybe tonight Mr. Ash will speak a little bit to this, as that is his family and he's there. Culture, folks. Who are we? What do we stand for? I know we need more governor schools and more seats for our own students to flourish, but caring about all, that's who we are. That is what our culture is now. That's what FCPS is all about, not earning a place at some elitist table. It's about an open door and caring, a table for all. In regards to the final budget review, I think I want to remind you that we still think you need some help in order to do your best work as a board. Last year, we finally got you to fund some staff for yourselves. See my speech from last year, but you didn't do it. Sorry, Walt Carlson. To be clear, you're still overworked and often overwhelmed. You need some help. If not staff, then you need to reduce your meeting load, have Dr. Garza assist in suggesting some other operational efficiencies. You just did something to help your educators with workload. Stop being so selfishly selfless and get some support for yourselves, please. Which gets me to the July 18th work session on workload. Thank you all. Thank you, Division Superintendent. Thank you, School Board. Thank you, leadership team, all of you. I know it takes all of you to do this. This is a great start in addressing this issue while limiting some standardized testing. Yes, Mrs. Strauss, I'm starting to like that random sampling stuff. Improving the teacher evaluation process and beginning to work to protect teacher planning time. Outstanding. That brings me to Michael Harrison. Unfortunately, he can't be here tonight, but as my friend and my brother, as the outgoing FEA president, I want everyone in this county to know that he has brought unions together, built coalitions with parents, lobbied politicians to improve pay and working conditions for employees. And I am so happy he was here to see the workload issue he started be addressed. Without him, none of this would have happened. Michael Harrison will remain a powerful advocate for the teachers of FCPS as the ERFC chair as he returns to the classroom. Thank you, Michael Harrison, for everything that you've done over the last 3 years, my friend. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Sonia Guzman, to be followed by Beverly Duranco and Georgie Becerra.
Dr. Garza, school board members, thank you for your support of Marshall High School's updated lunch program. I am Matthew Horn, an English teacher at Marshall, and I'm thrilled about the opportunities that this new pilot kitchen provides. Teaching grammar lessons to a class of 10th graders is a fun challenge, but any teacher will agree that that challenge increases during the lunch period with the wild energy swings that it brings. Students come back excited and energized, perhaps a bit too excited and energized, only to crash halfway through the class. Or students can't find options that they want and sluggishly return to class to slouch their way through the lesson. The Statesman Station buffet bar is a great step toward solving these problems, getting great food to our students to get them through the day, and more importantly, to build a culture of healthy living both inside and outside of school. The positive example that this salad bar provides will be more effective than just telling the students what healthy food is. There are many days when in my rush to beat the rush hour traffic, I leave my lunch at home, creating a cranky Mr. Horn for the students at the end of the day. Now I'll be excited to leave that lunch at home and find healthy, energy-filled choices that the salad bar will offer. The teachers will definitely want to help this pilot kitchen succeed. My colleagues and I are grateful for the help that you have given us and the great healthy lunches in our future.
Good evening. My name is Sonia Guzman. I have 4 kids, and I have been at Marshall High School since 1998. Mr. McElveen was there with 2 of my kids. He's here. I'm still there. I just finished my 2nd term as a Marshall PTSA president. In all my years being intimately involved in my children's schools, I am very pleased that the School Health Advisory Committee will be focusing on the school wellness policy this year. As a doctor, I know firsthand how important good nutrition is for everyone. We need to give our students a healthy meal to enhance their learning experience and concentration in school. I was watching TV last Tuesday night, and there was a piece on pediatricians in New York giving parents coupons to go out and buy fresh, locally growing produce, not just to give their kids better food, but also to combat childhood obesity, which is endemic in our country. Imagine how proud I felt to think that here we are, Marshall High School, with the support of all of you, already trying to better feed our students, giving them an advantage in making health choices. We hope Marshall can be the model for other schools, not only in Fairfax County, but in the whole country. Students, teachers, and the entire school community are supportive of this effort and are eager to assist in making the pilot successful. Our PTSA is a strong supporter of this new venture. We're willing to help kick off the program and help spread the message announcing details of the new lunch offerings to all our families throughout our communication system with the strong support of food and nutrition services. Jay Pearson, our principal, Real Food for Kids, teachers, students, and parents, we know this will be a very successful pilot program. On behalf of Marshall PTSA, we thank the school board for its support of this important pilot program. We hope you will join us September 12th for our official ribbon cutting ceremony. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Beverly Dranko, to be followed by George Basseri and Mark Miena.
Chairman Moon, honorable school board members, and Superintendent Garza, my name is Beverly Jurenko, and I'm here to say a few words about the APEC charge and the AAP study. The first part of the year's APEC charge reads, identify best practices for ensuring that AAP services are implemented successfully at the local school level. This charge will give APEC the opportunity to see where our schools fall short and learn from models of success. We support expanding strategies used in teaching level 4 in all classrooms. Centers and programs differ substantially in their offerings, and providing equal access is important. To determine AAP center eligibility, as discussed by GMU, we weight task commitment, creativity, and test scores. FCAG believes in multiple criteria, but AAP numbers have ballooned over the last decade, and we need to determine why this is happening. The flow chart on page 2 shows how the centers have evolved. If you turn to that page, we are at step 4. The AAP center and level 4 teachers are attempting to differentiate as classrooms have more variation in ability. The impact on students of these changes will appear in long-term performance data, which we don't yet have. Why the increase? Something is happening and we'd like to know more. The AAP office has offered to prepare some information, but to help us along, there are 2 historical documents you'll find in your packet. The first is screening data from 2004-2005. The second is a memorandum from Jack Dale, also from 2005. As you can see, 8 years ago, we provided a lot of information on eligibility, on demographics, on test scores, and there's been a debate over whether AAP classes have become less rigorous. Given the proposed charge, APEC could use this type of data to evaluate centers and local level 4 classes across the county. We should examine past and current trends before we make changes. Also included are several graphs. Some of the data on them are things that I've backed into based on limited information that I have, but the information for 2003 is based on Jack Dale's memorandum and can show you how we can look at distribution of test scores and learn a lot about our students. In the last month, we've seen a move towards increased transparency. The Budget Transparency Initiative discussed last week is one excellent example. This is a positive first step. We hope that you'll continue with this trend. Thank you, School Board and FCPS staff, for listening and engaging on AAP, and for continuing to look at how we can improve and apply strategies used in AAP to all levels of instruction. Our community appreciates being involved in the process and would like additional opportunities to work with you to strengthen FCPS's advanced academic programs. I'm available for questions by email if you wish. Thank you very much.
Thank you. George Bassera, to be followed by Mark Miena and Jeremiah Davis.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Garza, and FCPC staff and leadership team. Some of my comments tonight are going to be as the MSAOC chair plus individual. First thing, I'd like to thank Mr. Boone on appointing Mr. Stork again as, or at least for the moment, being appointed for next year as MSAOC school board liaison, plus our charge. Again, listening to MSAOC on 2 important matters, the person who represents us and also our charge. On that aspect, as you might have read today, the state has adopted new student performance measures. So MSAOC is going to have a tougher job next year in terms of we're proposing 2 models, one outside the box and second what the state wants. So we're going to need a little help on that end. We're going to need Dr. Garza to bring PLA back to MSAOC, Dr. Sacco and Dr. Oliver back to our team. We can do data analysis, but it might be in cohesion with what the county wants. I'm trying to get one big fluid motion here, especially with your definition of your new goal, division goal of defining different measures for student achievement. With that said, next thing I'd like to praise Dr. Garza for hiring Mr. Tyson outside. and the new lady for for cluster 6. So that makes it right now 6 out of 8 assistant superintendents are African American or Hispanic. Now what I need to focus on is the principalship. Females and minorities is lacking the numbers. I've never stressed the AS superintendents, I've always stressed the principal level. I need for the vision for our young employees to try to move up in the system. Next aspect is also hearing about Dr. Parrish not leaving and being made an advisor role. Again, I had mentioned you personally, my feelings of Dr. Parrish. Next thing, school board retreat. Agreed with your definition of your goal. MSAOC is behind that. I also need that trust between all 13 of y'all. That's the next big thing. You want to talk about it or not, in public or not, but you need that as a new system. You guys unanimously voted for Dr. Garza. I need this to work. That's it. You guys know what you have to do. And also, with that, with the strategic plan, you're going to lose some things out of here. You're going to lose some groups out of this, but you guys have to make the tough decision of what is the system. But you guys were elected, from my understanding. So you guys are going to make the tough decisions. Not you're pushing people back, but you're going to system like Dr. Garza with their strategic plan and run the boat. Next thing is TJ Task Force. Appreciate MSAOC will be represented from my indications. Plus another suggestion is the minority parents at TJ that has parents who are also directly already affected in there. I would suggest their aspect. Also, next thing is to welcome Mr. Ash. We need accountability of your folks, your student reps, that they attend and participate. I'm not trying to be harsh, but you're a rising senior, you're going to be a man soon. So I need that, you and my son, so I treat you guys the same, okay? And to visit all the schools. And I'd like to say one thing before I end on Mr. Hardison, if I can get an extension of time here. Is that allowable, Mr. Moon?
Just very briefly, please.
Okay, and I'll just read it from quote. I'd like to send my condolences to the West Potomac community, Mr. Stork, Dr. Garza, and the SCPS family on the loss of Mr. Hardison. Cliff was not just a good man, but a great human being. In the past 3 years, I had the privilege of meeting and becoming a friend of Cliff's. We would see each other at many functions throughout SPS. We had many great discussions that lasted long and late. He always gave me words of encouragement when you could see on my face that my voice or our voices were not being heard. He would say, George, when you speak, I drop what I'm doing to hear what comes out of your mouth. All I know is that God was definitely waiting for Cliff with open arms. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra. Our next speaker is Mark Miana, to be followed by Jeremiah Davis.
Before I start, I just want to say thank you all for the recognition, the sincere recognition you bestowed upon those people. It was absolutely fabulous. You could see it. It really meant a lot to all of you, and that's a great thing. And I would ask your indulgence if I could postpone my remarks while I go cut them to a DVD and CD. I can see that's the way to do things, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. My name is Mark Miana. I come here tonight as an active member of the Athletic Council, career as a volunteer in youth sports, and a citizen of Fairfax County. All of you know the Synthetic Turf Task Force just completed our report and briefed you on the findings and recommendations last week. I applaud the school board, and at the time, Chairman Strauss, for requesting this task force and getting it kicked off with the Board of Supervisors and the Park Board. It's fabulous when you put those entities together. The experience of working with all the controlling boards in Fairfax County that direct the county's finances to collectively develop a comprehensive funding plans and find solutions for synthetic turf field program was a proud and rewarding experience for myself. As the story unfolded on how the county built the existing 67 fields in the worst economic environment in 80 years, and absent any integrated strategic plan, everyone here should be proud, as everybody out in the citizenship is proud as well. However, this report clearly shows where inequity exists, specifically the 8 schools that don't have synthetic turf fields: Annandale, Stewart, Mount Vernon, West Potomac, Edison, Hayfield, Thomas Jefferson, and South County. You have an opportunity now to provide synthetic turf fields to these schools and solve the inequity that currently exists in the 3 magisterial districts of Lee, Mason, and Mount Vernon. Please do not postpone action on this. Action now can only save money and give the staff time to really develop a great approach to this at economic levels. A complete education is the catalyst for success in the future, and that education doesn't stop at the walls. It goes to the fences. I urge each member of the board to endorse the funding solutions proposed to build these turf fields, regardless if they're in your area or not, or in your area of specialty or not. They need it. All Fairfax County students deserve equal playing surfaces, and we're dealing with 1/3 of a negative approach right now. The Board of Supervisors, as a result of this report, there's some significant movement about, and the county executive has got some plans that I was made aware of, and that's positive. So collectively, I hope all of us can work towards that. Thank you all again.
Next speaker is Jeremiah Davis.
Good evening. My name is Jeremiah Davis, and I stand in front of you as a product of FCPS. I'm a husband of an FCPS teacher, a father of 2 FCPS students, a graduate of Annandale High School, a former special education teacher at Annandale High School, the head football coach, track coach, and a special education teacher at West Potomac High School. I have a lot invested in this county, and especially in this side of the county, my side of the county. I stand to you in front of you today and ask that you pass the motion for us to have our turf fields. When it rains, we face a hard choice whether to go outside and just practice in the mud or walk a mile over a creek to a neighboring facility and practice on a field. On game night, every game night that if it rains, we face the possibility of cancellation every time that we play. And I don't think that's fair. And coming from schools that offer so much in terms of diversity to this county, I ask that, that we have equality, equity, and fairness passed back to us in the form of playing fields. Mrs. Butt shared a powerful statement with us tonight. She said, our children are learning from us. So I ask you tonight, what are we teaching them? Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the citizen participation, and the next order of business is Student Representative Matters. Mr. Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, a shout out to Marshall for that fantastic rap. And I look forward to discussing that pilot program and potential expansion. Second, I'd like to recognize the Boy Scout in the audience this evening. Just a few years ago, I remember attending my school board meeting for Citizen in the Community Merit Badge, and I actually attended the fair grade meeting, so while all that was going on. And that was one of my first chances to see what student government was all about. So I know it's a great opportunity, and I'm glad to see someone else is taking advantage. Third, speaking on looking ahead, July and August are fairly down months for students, and we enjoy our vacation. But looking ahead, I'm planning out various things for the school year, and one of the first things I'm looking forward to are I'm going to attempt to visit all schools and start out with a round of visits, one from each cluster, or magisterial districts, excuse me, in an attempt to get out and see the county and experience all different sides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ash. Next, we have action items, starting with 4.01, FY 2013 Final Budget Review. Ms. Evans, for a motion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moon. I move that the school board approve the revenue and expenditure adjustments in the FY 2013 Final Budget Review as detailed in the agenda item.
And seconded by Mr. Verkup. Ms. Evans, you want to speak on your motion?
Yes, just very briefly. We've had a presentation 2 weeks ago about the adjustments, and we've since had a work session. We have, this motion does have an adjustment in it, and so now the recommended expenditures adjustments are $9 million, whereas 2 weeks ago, it was $11 million. So we have reduced that amount, and this is what we do once a year. We take a look at our adjustments, more money that we have coming in than we had anticipated, and some priority expenditures, and I would urge my colleagues to support this.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Evans. Ms. Megan McLaughlin, you have an amendment.
I do, Chairman Moon, thank you.
I move to amend the main motion by using one-time funding available from FY 2013, transfer funding of $1.5 million from the school operating fund to the construction fund in FY 2014 to support a joint county schools initiative to fund synthetic high school turf fields, contingent upon the Board of Supervisors taking similar action with their FY 2013 carryover package in September. I also move to reducing the funding for the FY 2015 budgeted beginning balance by $1.5 million.
All right, but that's one motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Anna Kofax. Mrs. McLachlan, you want to speak on your motion?
I do, Chairman Moon. Thank you. I first want to say I deeply appreciate Mr. Miana and our West Potomac football coach for coming out tonight and giving a true voice from the community about the value of my budget amendment. I had the honor of representing this school board for 10 months on an extensive analysis that brought our county boards together, also county staff, experts in looking at what we can do to address the inequity of synthetic turf fields here in Fairfax County. And I first want to emphasize again what Mr. Miana said. This very board in December 2011 passed a resolution that absolutely identified the value, the merits of what synthetic turf fields will bring to our county, to its students, and to our citizens. The research alone demonstrated that synthetic turf fields increased playability for our residents by 62%. But as this school board noted in December 2011, and I encourage anyone with any questions to please read that thorough resolution, it absolutely identified that we had inequity then, and we do so even more now. And when you look at the merits and the benefits of the synthetic turf fields, when you look at the fact that we know the research has proven that brain functioning improves the learning opportunities, that we look at the fact that we listen to our schools and our communities that do not have the synthetic turf fields, and the loss of time for students to get outdoors and have that physical education, to have that exercise. All of this is about student learning in the end. We heard earlier tonight about Marshall High School and the focus on how we can improve learning through healthy foods, and it's also through physical exercise. I know that my colleagues are aware of my passion for this. I absolutely believe in the merits, and I could spend far too long talking about it this evening, but I just want to say that the value of my amendment is that it is a stepping stone, it's a stepping forward for addressing the inequity. The 42-page task report shows that we have a $12 million need to help fund the turf fields in these final 8 schools. And based on the analysis, if the Board of Supervisors and our school system can each come forward with approximately $4.5 million over the next 3 years, we will be able to remove the inequity in these 3 magisterial districts and for all of those students who attend those 8 schools. So without belaboring all of this, I do hope that my colleagues tonight will join me in this, supporting this budget amendment. It is our way of demonstrating to the Board of Supervisors that we value the fact that they created this task force upon our recommendation, that we do value the fact that this analysis was brought forward by bodies throughout the county and in a shared voice said that we can be the leaders to help solve this problem with really very little investment. I do think it's important to note that it has taken $53 million to develop the 67 synthetic turf fields. To date, FCPS as a school system has brought forward about $1.2 million, but our athletic boosters have brought over $15 million to this initiative. But the schools that remain, as some may speak to, and I hope Ms. Dernak Kofax, I'll leave that for you to highlight. There are schools that simply cannot bring forward that Our high school fields, 50% of the funding in our high school fields for these synthetic turf came from the athletic boosters and our community sports clubs, over 50%. So again, I'll leave it for my colleagues to share maybe additional factors, and I welcome anyone who wants to understand better the merits of this to please email or call me. As you can tell, I would love to share my passion for it.
Thank you. Mr. Narcofax?
Thank you, Chairman Moon. I am happy to support this amendment. I thank you for coming out here tonight, gentlemen, and I also want to thank the task force for all of their hard work over the last 10 months in coming up with a solution that is fair and logical to our turf field dilemma. This is an issue of fairness and one of equity. Certain school populations have not been able to amass the funding through the process that we are currently using, and that is why this task force was formed. This task force has met their objective quite successfully. We now have the opportunity to show our park authority and county partners that we appreciate the hard work that they have done with us and give these last 8 schools, 4 of which are in my area that I represent, including Edison, Hayfield, West Potomac, and Mount Vernon, that the rest of the county schools have. These 4 plus 4 more do not have these facilities. This is a small amount to set aside to provide equity and to literally put our remaining schools on a level playing field, turf fields. So I commend Ms. McLaughlin for her work and on the language of this amendment because it is contingent upon the Board of Supervisors taking similar action with their carryover package. I have had the opportunity, and many of you have looked at the letter that came from my partner in Lee District, Supervisor McKay. I've also talked to Chairman Bulova. Both have expressed enthusiastic support for this. I strongly encourage my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Ms. Hines, Mrs. Shores, Ms. Evans, and Mrs. Smith. Ms. Hines.
Okay, thank you. And again, I want to thank the task force, and I want to thank Ms. McLaughlin for all your work on this and for giving us the opportunity to lead on this and to do something about it. I'm happy to support this. We know that we are a tale of 2 counties in more ways than we like to admit, and I did not realize how starkly the turf field issue demonstrates that. I mean, in bright green, we can see the difference. And in Hunter Mill, we're lucky at Madison High School and now at South Lakes, we've got our fields, and it's time for us to help students in other parts and also citizens in other parts of the county. I am worried about the money. I think we're all worried about the money. It's $1.5 million out of our, our year-end balance that we're counting on to begin the next fiscal year. That makes us very nervous. It's not something we like to do, but I think because we have support from the county, we have all this great work by the task force, that this is a relatively small investment for something that's very important. And I would just say that, this is, and again, thanks to Mrs. McLaughlin, this is an opportunity for us as a school board to lead on an issue that is a joint obligation between us and the county. And I do hope that the Board of Supervisors follows through on this initiative and also understands in the next budget cycle that we have been willing to dip into our savings. And so we won't have that savings when we begin our next fiscal year. And so I hope that they understand that we have been putting the money to very important use, and we hope to have some support going forward from them.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes, I'm very happy to support this. Being in the western end of the county, I have had the benefit of probably some of the earliest fields that were switched to turf in the county. Eleanor C. Lawrence, Braddock Park, and recently Centerville High School. But I also recognize that not all communities have a Tom Healy or a coach, Jimmy Santabaria at Centerville High School as the athletic director, who really pulled off quite a miracle, a feat of 2 turf fields at Centerville High School in a relatively short period of time. I've seen, in fact, the downside at Arrowhead Park, for example, or at Mountain View, of the loss of fields and the the truly domino impact that that has on all sports, not just youth sports, not just high school sports, but adult athletics as well. And the amazing thing is to go by Braddock Park on Braddock Road, I don't know, at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday and see the lights on and see people playing soccer or flag football. I mean, y'all are crazy for doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, but that just shows you how much our community values and can use turf fields. And when, and I differ slightly than Ms. Hines, because I sometimes think that if you spend money wisely now, you actually wind up saving money later. And I think this is one of these opportunities where we are being given a truly unique cross-jurisdiction opportunity to work with the Park Authority and with the Board of Supervisors to say that this is something that benefits our students, our residents, our taxpayers, adult athletes, youth athletics, and at times even athletics in our schools. So this is a benefit that will be derived so many times over if we choose to spend wisely now and work in collaboration with our fellow board members on those other boards. And so this is something that is prudent. And if I could replicate, the coaches and the athletic directors that I have in the western end of the county and the Tom Healy's of the world, I would and give them to you all, but I can't, so I give you my vote.
Ms. Evans, to be followed by Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Strauss.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank the Synthetic Turf Field Task Force. I think they did a fabulous job. It's a model of collaboration between various entities that came together and brought us a wonderful report and a pathway to get this job done. I strongly support Ms. McLaughlin's amendment. It is, as several other members have said, a matter of equity and finding a way to make sure that all of our students benefit from the synthetic turf fields. I represent Mason District. I have 4 high schools in my district: Stewart High School, Annandale High School, Thomas Jefferson High School, and Falls Church High School. The first one of those 4 to be getting a synthetic turf field is happening this summer at Falls Church. We are getting 2 synthetic turf fields here, and I want to thank facilities staff, which work very, very hard and very creatively with a variety of entities to find a way to get that done. But we need to do this at our other schools as well, and I actually have students who now also go to Edison High School. These schools have some of our neediest students, and it's important that all of our students have a healthy lifestyle. I know we heard tonight about nutrition, and I appreciate all the students who came out and the parents who came out talking about that. I care deeply about the health of our students, and so the physical exercise piece of it, that needs to be equitable across our school system as well. I also want to say that just one small point, I guess it's small in the scheme of things, but it's not small to us over in Mason District, though. For Stewart High School, I do hope that we can find a way to get a second turf field there. I know it's a small campus, but we can turf a baseball field, and I hope we can find a way to do that too. So, Ms. McLaughlin, thanks so much for your leadership on this, and I do strongly support this amendment.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Chairman Moon. I have a question of Mrs. Quinn, and then I have some comments I'd like to make. I have a question about the Board of Supervisors carryover and when we'll know how much revenue they're looking at.
They are currently scheduled to present to the Board of Supervisors next Tuesday, which is July 30th, but they will not be taking action on the entire package until early September. It's the second Tuesday of September.
Thank you. I have concerns about voting for this right now. I recognize that there's inequity and we need to do something about the fields. But when I look at the structural deficit that this board is facing with our budget, that the county was able to fix in their budget, that we talked about in our budget of having a deficit of $150 to $190 million. I am concerned that we make a decision now that isn't that timely, that it has to happen now. My preference would be that we wait until the mid-year budget review in January to decide whether $1.5 million is the amount of money that we want to put into this effort for fields. It would be able to show us, we have no idea how much carryover the Board of Supervisors is going to have. And anything we take away is going to affect us with our beginning balance for the next year. And we all sit here and we know that we've had trouble getting enough funding to fund our schools. So my preference would be to wait until the mid-year budget review to deal with this. I know that the schools that put in turf fields now, Oakton's one of them, that we didn't vote on that until June, yet those fields, they're working on them. They'll be up and running for the next school year. So I don't think it's a timely issue to wait. But I think when we look at the issues that we have with the budget, that this decision to make, to put $1.5 million into this right now is premature. We also know that part of this process for the schools to get the funding to put in fields, there is a commitment that each school has to raise some money. So that gives them time to work on that. For me, the fiscally prudent thing to do is to wait to make this decision until the mid-year budget review. So I will not support the amendment. Thank you.
Mrs. Strauss?
First, I want to thank the task force that was formed. And I do think the report was excellent, and it does give us a great deal of information and suggestions as to the way forward. And it is important that we partner with the Board of Supervisors, the Park Authority, in order to move forward with the turf field project. However, I would also like to, and I will vote for this amendment, but I also have to raise some cautionary tales. The school board, when we ended our deliberations for next year's budget, we affirmatively said that our first priority for funding will be pay for teachers. We are going to try to drive ourselves to find $43 million for step increases. We are projecting a deficit of $193.3 million. That is huge. We have not been able to refund many of the cuts that we took during the recession. So in many ways, for example, our increase in class size still stands. There are many things we've not been able to fund back. The structural deficit that we have is large, and it is very serious, and I am not exactly sure how we're going to find a way forward. I also remind us that we all agreed to not fund out of year-end $1.9 million in science books for elementary children that would help our elementary children meet the new SOL requirements for non-fictional reading and also the science standards. But we agreed that because of the large projected deficit and our stated objective to give pay increases, that we would not fund the science books for our children at this time. I believe that we would find a way to be able to find the funds to help go forward and partner with the Board of Supervisors. But I have real heartburn taking this out of the operating budget because that's what we are doing. This is not, this is really a capital project. And I am not sure taking it out of the operating budget is the best way, because this does, in fact, compete with classroom instruction, with pay for teachers, and I think we're going to have a tough time settling this budget going forward. I will vote for this because I applaud the partnership and I applaud the report. But I would have preferred finding another way of funding this, and I think actually by mid-year, third quarter, we would have figured out a way to do this, and I believe that Mrs. Smith is correct, that in order to continue to fund the turf fields, the money has to be identified usually by about spring, and you can go forward with it. So I will vote for this, but I caution my colleagues. We've just had a retreat, and we've talked about strategic planning and being focused and being disciplined, particularly we're going to have such huge budget issues facing us. So that while the report was great, I don't think this is the best way to fund it, but I will vote for it. Thank you.
Mr. Strauss done. Mrs. Reed, to be followed by Mr. Stork and Mr. McElveen.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. I want to remind the board that we have said that one of our highest priorities is the whole child and student health. And to me, this speaks volumes, not only what we heard earlier about healthy foods, but also providing the equitable opportunity for students to use these fields. Not just students who live in certain parts of the county, but all students. The issue of equity is very, very important to me. My schools in my district, we don't have to worry about it like some of us, but many others don't have those same fortunate opportunities, don't have the same kind of community partners, and it's not fair, it's not right that we should have this dichotomy. I also think that this is a perfect opportunity for us to celebrate partnerships, to leverage our resources. I very much appreciate Ms. McLaughlin offering the amendment that talks about the county match. I can't believe that they would not be able to find the money if we can find the money. And if this is a priority for the county, it should be a priority for everyone in the county. Thanks again to the work of the Turf Task Force. I want you to know that you were very compelling in putting together your report and telling the story. And it's a wonderful success story for us all to take a look at what you've done when you can all work together. I wanted to thank Ms. McLaughlin for her leadership on this. And yes, it is a tough financial time. I don't think any of us are fooling anybody. But this is a discussion about the greater good, in my view. And so I have no hesitation at all about supporting this amendment. Thank you.
Mr. Stork, to be followed by Mr. McElveen and Mr. Weckoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first want to thank the task force as well, and really the board and our foresight, if you will, to initiate this process a year and 3/4 ago. I think we have really all benefited from that, and I think that the product of that effort will be showing up in not only our vote tonight and the vote by the Board of Supervisors, I assume in September, but most importantly in what gets put in the ground hopefully next summer. Because that, I think, is what we're really talking about here. It is about timing. I absolutely share Ms. Strauss's and others' budget concerns. I mean, they're real and they're not going away, and we're going to have our challenges with that. Particularly, I have concerns about taking the money out of the operating budget. I share that concern as well, and I have some thoughts about how we can address that in the future to maybe make up for some of this. But it is something that we don't, frankly, have the time to wait. And waiting for January is not a real option because of what we have to do, not only in the school community to raise the money, but also the planning, the effort that's required to get these fields built in time, get them set up and planned, and have them ready to be built next summer. I spent a great deal of time talking to Mr. Plattenberg and many other folks about what we need to do. I've spent the last really 3 years on committees at Mount Vernon High School and at West Potomac, brainstorming, trying to figure out how do we do what so many other communities have already done, which is raise or find the funds to do turf fields. We have obviously not come up with a solution. We have options, we have things that we're working on, but there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that they will not be ready by early enough so that those fields can be done next summer, and that'll be years, frankly, before we can complete that process. So our communities need help. I truly hate to say it. I know we are proud. I know we're working hard to try to do that ourselves, but we need some help on this. And that help has come with really not only this task force and the recommendations, but also really the support that I'm hearing on the board tonight, and I deeply and greatly appreciate that. I know it is a hard decision, but I know the equity issue means a lot to all of us and something that we frankly share and want to make sure is addressed. We have a group in our community that's been very active. In our community, I mean really the Mount Vernon Lee districts called Voice that's been very active in trying to identify really recreational and turf field needs in our communities. They have not been shy about really reminding us how important it is to not only be organized and make your concerns and your issues known, but they've turned out more people for these meetings than I've seen, even in our boundary meetings, I'm surprised to say. Because these are kids, these are adults, these are community members who know that these fields can make a real difference in bringing people together and it really adding to our overall educational opportunity that we provide to kids. So would these fields only get built by our community efforts? I have no doubt about that. We are deeply committed to that. Will it take some years to do that? I have no doubt about that as well. So having this going forward now and in my mind, if you will, ensuring that these fields can be done next summer and completed next summer will make a huge difference to not only the students who will be playing on them and all the athletes who will be using them, as well as our community and the parents and others involved. So I thank you all very much for the support. I'm confident that the Board of Supervisors will recognize what we're doing. They'll have some extra money, and I hope they send it our way, and hopefully, if you will, provide this a wash in terms of our operating budget. And they have the opportunity to do that, and I'm sure they'll consider that. So again, thank you all very much.
Mr. McAvin to be followed by Mr. Valcob and Mr. Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think all of us recognize that this turf issue is a visual manifestation of the inequity in our county. And I think, for me personally, I hope I never have to see a map that looks like that again. It bears repeating that that map is what our county educational achievement would look like if this board had not had the foresight in previous years to commit to needs-based staffing and needs-based funding, which frankly some of our state legislators are looking to find ways to get rid of. And it's something we need to continue to advocate for as a board, that we need to represent all parts of this county and not just some. It also deserves repeating that all of our students deserve the same extracurricular and sports opportunities that every single student in other parts of this county have. And I'm proud of this board for recognizing that. I agree that there are budget issues here. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And I look forward to this board working together as a group of advocates when it comes to the Board of Supervisors next year, saying, look, we laid down our money now, you better honor us, and they better give us their word. If not, shame on them. This board also promised our employees a step next year after foregoing the opportunity to fund it over multiple years. And we've tasked the superintendent with finding that money, and I'm confident we will. If not, shame on us.
Mr. Wickoff.
First of all, I think Mr. Stork did an excellent job of summarizing the cross currents around this issue, and Mr. McElveen, you did a great job of identifying some of the values issues that are underlying what we're talking about here. For me, there's one overarching goal around this, and that is demonstrating that government works in this county and that we have integrated government. And I think this sends a great message to the Board of Supervisors. It sends a great message to the community that our boards are working together. And I would like to remind everyone that, you know, change happens so slowly that sometimes you don't see it. But if you look back over the past year and a half, I can count 3 things that are tangibly different. First of all, the boards are coming together around the issue of early education. The boards are coming together on the issue of construction and renovation. And here is another one having to do with turf fields. So folks, we're making progress. I'm happy to support this.
Mr. Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I attend TJ, and so I'm a student at one of the high schools without a turf field. And I've stood on a muddy field on a Friday night during a football game when it's kind of rainy and it's been rainy all day. And I'm lucky that I only have to take pictures. I don't have to try and play on a muddy field. But the students out there, they work at this all week, and then they have to go and either play in bad conditions or not play at all, and the game gets postponed or even canceled. And that happens at these schools, but not other schools necessarily. And I've also stood on nice turf fields during rain, and they watch students play and play good games, and good, safe games. So I believe it's in the best interest of the students, both their safety and fueling their passion for athletics, to support this amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ash. Before I do go back for Mrs. McLaughlin, let me just say that I'll be supporting this motion, except that I must still note at least one regret and make one additional comment. One regret is that even before we had an opportunity to discuss with the County Board of Supervisors, we seem to have shown our cards that we are putting up $1.5 million and only asking for the same amount of money from County Board of Supervisors, because I believe with the complete elimination by the County Board of Supervisors of their structural deficit, they are in much better financial shape than we are. And we should have lobbied for County Board of Supervisors to put up over $3 million, not just $1.5 million. But with this motion out in open, now that opportunity for the next year is certainly gone. But for the following years, I certainly hope that all of us, or 12 of us, work together to talk to the County Board of Supervisors that we need more help. We need more help. The second is I held some conversation with superintendent to see whether there is an alternate source of funding for this, because I would certainly prefer the funding to come from capital rather than operating. But the motion is from the operating to be transferred to capital and then to be used. And with the hope that we can find some savings, as we hope that some of the contract for our renovations and new building contracts come under our initial estimation, that we can certainly use the savings for the purpose of funding a turf field. So our hope to have, I'm hoping to have an opportunity between now and the next year, when a superintendent tells us that we have come up with some savings on the capital side, that we put the money back. We put the money back to the operating, so that we can use that money to hopefully be able to provide the steps for our teachers next year, and provide sufficient funding for other programs for our students next year. Mrs. McLaughlin.
I just wanted to circle back to a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank my colleagues who understand the time-sensitive nature of this budget amendment. Not only is it our awareness that the county executive is supportive of looking at this joint initiative and will be presenting his support for that next Tuesday. So it is timely. If we miss this opportunity tonight, we miss the chance to demonstrate to the Board of Supervisors that we do value this ability to partner. As everyone's talked about, our projected budget deficits. As anyone knows who's lived on a tight financial budget, our families in this county, if there's something that's important, you need, but you can't afford it right away, what do? You put the money into savings. You put it aside so you can build toward what you can afford. And as the report indicated, if we can look at our carryover funds with a school system that has had a projected carryover each year of about $40 to $50 million, it makes a lot of sense to put the one-time carryover money of $1.5 million toward helping thousands of students and families and communities that use these fields year-round. To the question about whether this should come out of the year-end carryover versus should it come from our capital. I just want my colleagues and the public to understand that what we heard in our presentation from the school board was we have over a 20-year backlog in our capital needs. And I did not want to send the message to those schools on that backlog that we now decided to put turf fields ahead of them. Year-end carryover is supposed to be one-time funding. That's what our CFO has shared with us. That's what this is tonight. We have it. We've decided to designate it for it. And anytime you can match with another board that they're going to bring 1.5 to the table, as do we, and this language says, we do it if they do it. It is a win-win. I am so excited for the things that people have shared tonight. I am most proud of the fact that we continue to live in a county that says it doesn't matter what zip code you live in. You will get quality services no matter where you are in the county. And that's a commitment I think we need to continue to honor. And so I do, again, want to emphasize this is very timely. I have watched what it's taken the two schools in my district, Woodson and Lake Braddock, to try and save enough money to finance it. And, we're talking about anywhere from $800,000 to $1.2 million that these two schools and their community groups have brought to the table. We're talking about 3 magisterial districts where that is just not a reality. So thank you again to all of my colleagues for your wonderful remarks. Thank you again to Mr. Miana and to our wonderful football coach from West Potomac. I'm very excited about what this says about us as a county going forward.
Mr. Schwartz?
Just two quick things. One, I think the reference is made that this could potentially be showing our cards to the Board of Supervisors. I think that's exactly the point. It's about time that the Board of Supervisors and the school board show their cards to each other when it is a joint and collaborative effort, when it's the taxpayers' money that is going to pay for these things, and it is going for the direct benefit of the residents throughout Fairfax County. That is the point, is to show our cards. That is the transparency of this action, is to collaboratively work across the Park Authority, the supervisors, and this board to achieve something that benefits all of the residents in Fairfax County. So that is, I think, a crucial takeaway from this, is that this is a culture change. And, one of my favorite proverbs is the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. So it's time that we plant this tree.
Seeing no other hand, let's vote on the amendment from Mrs. McLaughlin, which is to amend the main motion by A, using one-time funding available from FY 2013, transfer funding of $1.5 million from the school operating fund to the construction fund in FY 2014 to support a joint schools initiative to fund synthetic high school turf fields, contingent upon the Board of Supervisors taking similar action with their FY 2013 carryover package in September. B, reducing the funding for the FY 2015 budgeted beginning balance by $1.5 million. All those in favor of this amendment, raise your hand. Strauss, Evans, Schurz, McElveen, Terena Koufax, Moon, McLaughlin, Hines, Reed, Velkoff, Stork. Those opposing is a Smith. The motion passes. Now we're back on the main motion as amended. Mr. Velkoff.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this is going to be the last action taken by this committee of the whole with Ms. Evans as chair. And if I could, I would just like to say a few words. She's, throughout the entire year, made a tireless effort to make sure that all of our budget meetings were well prepared. I think she has created an environment where we have had relentless communication with all of the board members. And you've always steered us throughout the past year towards the greatest cohesion possible. And on a personal level, I have very much enjoyed working with you. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for what you've done over the past year in your service as budget chair, because it's a lot of work and it's not easy.
Thank you, Mr. Velkoff. Ms. Evans.
Mr. Velkoff, I very much appreciate those kind words, and I want to return the kind words and say how delighted I was to work with you as Budget Vice Chair. You also worked relentlessly, and I think we were a good team, and I so appreciate that, and I am delighted that you're going to become the new Budget Chair. So, and I look forward to working with you as a member of the committee as a whole. Thank you so much.
So any other board member praising the budget chair and vice chair? If not, let me call for the vote on the motion as amended. The school board approved revenue and expenditure adjustments in the FY 2013 final budget review as detailed in the agenda item as amended. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Thank you. Next action item is grant for school renovation and construction on Fort Belvoir. And Mr. Stork.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the school board authorize the division superintendent or the chief financial officer to submit a grant application to the Department of Defense to include a commitment from Fairfax County Public Schools to provide 20% match associated with the costs of renovation and construction of elementary schools located on the Fort Belvoir military installation and pursuant to a ground lease to the school board.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Church. Mr. Stork, you want to speak on your motion?
I do. Thank you. Fort Belvoir Elementary School, at least recently, was one of the largest elementary schools in Fairfax County Public Schools, and we recognize that Bailey's has taken over that regrettable title. In this case, Bailey's and Fort Belvoir have the similar issues. They both are overcrowded. The difference is that we have a path now with Fort Belvoir potentially to address this, a path that's really not been obvious for over the past 10 years. I've spent 10 years really truly lobbying and working hard with congressmen and the commanders of Fort Belvoir and others to try to get support to do something about the overcrowding. And there really truly was no path. Over this 10 years, the on-post community has been growing. The students, the military dependents that are there, the students, children of folks who are serving in the armed forces have not had an option. The money has not been there. Being a Department of Defense school, it is truly not funded by Fairfax County public taxpayers in terms of building that. At least that was something I've made to them over and over and over again, because we already have $1.5 billion deficit of our own, and how do we go about funding something that, frankly, Fairfax County taxpayers, have a hard time funding because they're not doing what we need to do for our renovations. So looking for other ways, and this community has been growing not only because of the BRAC process that brought in almost 20,000 additional employees into Fort Belvoir campus, but also the process of relocation of military personnel literally onto the post. The building of additional housing, they not only renovated the existing housing there that was from the 40s and 50s and in horrible condition, but while they renovated it, they added bedrooms. And you know what happens when you add bedrooms to housing and you renovate housing? You have people who actually want to live there. And these are military dependents that deserve better housing, and they've chosen to live on post. But they've had to send their kids to an overcrowded school. Additionally, they're looking at new housing on the post, and I expect that will also occur over the next few years. So that growth pattern, that growth curve is clearly there without any way to truly address that. How do we fix that? Again, the existing school was built by an appropriation that Representative Jim Moran got, I think 13 or 14 years ago. That path has not been available. That effort has clearly been there by our representatives, but that path was not open to us. We had no other way of doing this. So this was an opportunity with this funding to make that difference, to truly get an additional school there, reduce the overcrowding, and keep the students on post, which will make, I know, the families very, very happy, and clearly will provide an opportunity for the students to interact with each other, and frankly reduce the number of additional connections that every military dependent has to make every time they're uprooted and moved, as they so often are in a matter of every several years. So this provides them with a home and hopefully a place to come back to when they come back to our community. So I think we have a great opportunity to do this here. I'm hopeful that we can truly get the funding that's out there. The 20% match, I assure every single board member here, will provide a great return to our capital budget. I think it'll free up some other money in our capital budget, which will allow us to address the many other overcrowding situations that we have, not only at Bailey's, but also really throughout the Richmond Highway corridor. So I ask for your support. I think it'll prove worthwhile and valuable to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to Mr. Schorch, let me call on Dr. Garza.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is a wonderful opportunity to relieve some of the crowding that we've been experiencing in that particular school and some surrounding schools. But I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Minusko and Mr. Plattenberg for their work on getting this. We had a very short amount of time to turn this around, and they've really put a lot of effort and energy into this, so I appreciate their efforts.
Thank you, Dr. Garza. Mr. Schorch, to be followed by Mrs. Strauss.
I'm going to refer to my previous support of the previous amendment. In the same fashion, this is the collaboration across jurisdictions that just happens to be across the river this time. So our wonderful LT staff, as Dr. Garza just pointed out, by capitalizing, it was funny, you got to have a little, by capitalizing on this opportunity to take advantage of this grant, gets us 20% ahead of where we were on these renovations. And so we either leave 20% on the table or make the Fairfax County Public Schools dollars and the Fairfax County taxpayers dollars go a little bit further by working collaboratively with the federal government in our education system here in Fairfax County while we're educating the children of our military personnel who continue to serve us. And I think one of the important things is that Fairfax County does retain ownership of the building, even though we accept this grant. So it's still our building, they're still our teachers, and we're still providing the education. It just happens to be on base. And the fact that we're able to serve the personnel who happen to be stationed here and our continued explosion of growth that happens to be along that Route 1 corridor and proximate to the base is terrific. There could be even off-base children who go to this school. So this is, again, a smart and wise use of money. And I think it may be $1.5 million that we needed from the previous motion to this motion that we just saved by applying for this grant. So I think it's great.
Mr. Strauss?
This is an unusual opportunity. I want to thank Mr. Stork for your continued advocacy for our children in the Route 1 corridor, particularly the children are on the post. And I also want to thank staff. This was a very quick turnaround. And the grant would provide 80% of the funding of this school and would relieve overcrowding in surrounding schools as well. Over the years, we have enjoyed a close relationship with the commanders and the leadership at Fort Belvoir because these are our children, these are our families. So this is just a tremendous opportunity. And I know that as we went through the difficult conversations with BRAC and all that's going on in the Route 1 corridor, we kept insisting that we thought we were going to get more children. And we went back and forth because the analysis by some of those across the river said, no, you're not going to get any more children. And we're getting them, and they're here. And it is important that these children can remain on base because the support system for our families is extensive. And this means a tremendous amount to the children and the families. And these families, after all, they are sacrificing a great deal for all the rest of us. So this is an excellent, excellent opportunity. I'm glad that it came, and I'm glad that we were able to respond to it so quickly. So again, Mr. Stork, you keep an eye on that ball, and I'm very grateful that you do that. Thank you.
Any other board member? If not, I'll call for the vote on the motion, which is that the school would authorize the division superintendent or the chief financial officer to submit a grant application to the Department of Defense to include a commitment from Fairfax County Public Schools to provide 20% match associated with the cost of renovation and construction of elementary schools located on the Fort Belvoir military installation and pursuant to a ground lease to the school board. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Next action item is school board liaison and committee assignments. Mr. Fairfax, you have a motion?
Yes, I do. I move that the school board confirm committee liaisons and assignment as detailed in the agenda item.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Strauss. Any board member? Okay, let me call for the vote. That the school board confirm committee liaisons and assignments as detailed in the agenda item. Those in favor, raise your hand. Strauss, Evans, McAlvin, Smith, Tenor, Colfax, Moon, Hines, Reed, Velkov, Stork. Those opposing? Church? Abstention?
I actually have a question, Chairman. I thought that there was someone didn't hear the second, so people had planned to speak to it once it was seconded. So I think we took the vote premature.
I asked for whether anybody wanted to speak, and nobody spoke.
And Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
as a parliamentary procedure point, I thought that you were looking for a second, and I thought you didn't have a second. So I was waiting for you to acquire your second.
All right, Mrs. Strauss seconded the motion. And I stated that. Seconded by Mrs. Strauss. Any board member? Okay.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, is there a parliamentary manner by which we can permit speaking before we take the roll on this vote? I personally would be in favor of allowing members to speak to this.
All right. Without objection, we vote. Before we vote, anyone who wants to speak? Okay, Mr. Schwartz.
I'm going to be very grateful to the fact that Ms. Betts gave us an interesting quote earlier in the presentation today by a Marianne Williamson, who's an author I wasn't familiar with, but I took the opportunity to look up the quote that she gave us. And she said that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure. We are meant to shine, and we are born to make we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And unfortunately, what has happened for the second year in a row is some of us have not had our ability to have our presence made real in a tangible way in our committee assignments. For 2 years running, this board member has made very discreet and specific committee requests, which have been denied 2 years running by the chair. I made every attempt to bring this early and in a reasonable manner to the chair's attention, and is in keeping with the gifts that I brought in my original candidacy, and which supported throughout my Springfield district and the rest of the division the interest that I hold and what I'm able to contribute. And I believe that we have had a number of retreats and had very good and beneficial conversation by and amongst our board members. The most fruitful and beneficial was one that we just held last week, and I thought that that proved a very positive and forward-looking opportunity for this board to work together collaboratively as a team, which was another part of Mrs. Butt's quotes, that the collaboration of diverse and thoughtful people can bring together and do a lot of good. So if this board cannot continue to work together collaboratively as thoughtful and diverse people and contribute their gifts, then I cannot support committee assignments that continue to not reflect the thoughtful and diverse nature of all 12 of us as board members.
Any other board member? If not, I'll call for the vote. Yes. Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Moon. I just wanted to convey my support for Ms. Schultz in her concerns for her experience to date. And I do deeply hope that as we go into what will now be our third year as board members, that maybe perhaps we can have a dialogue as school board members, set it as a work session if we need to. But I do think that it's important when we look at how we determine chairmanships and leadership positions with the board and also just our overall committee assignments. How it was done this year is that each of us submitted our own preferences to the chair and vice chair, and I greatly appreciated that being solicited from us. But when we then were contacted to be told what our individual appointments are, because of time and what that takes, there really wasn't the opportunity to then run through, well, where are the rest of the appointments? And then because the chair and vice chair had such a challenge of being able to reach each and every one of us, it didn't get posted until extremely late. So it didn't even allow us as board members to actually dialogue with each other to find out. So what does the composition of all of this look like in terms of how are each of the 12 of us being utilized to help with this board's overall operations and function. So I guess I just wanted to impart with my colleagues that I hope maybe as someone who will be serving on governance, it looks like again that we can maybe look at a way that will be a more comprehensive and more inclusive discussion among the 12 of us. And so I will conclude my remarks with that I want to stay optimistic.
Thank you. Any other board member?
I just want to thank Mr. Velkoff for his respectful acknowledgement.
Okay, my understanding is that a vice chair and chair have been trying to contact all board members and waiting until very, very last minute to hear back from everyone. And when that wasn't happening, and had to post at 2 o'clock this afternoon, that was even before hearing back from a couple of board members. So vice chair and vice chair have been trying. Ms. Street?
Thank you, Mr. Moon. I acknowledge that you and the vice chair had a very tough job trying to please everybody, and I think you did the best that you could. I do agree with Ms. Schultz, though, that we all are leaders. Each one of us has gifts and talents to bring to bear, and I would hope within the coming years when we're on the board here together that we can find opportunities to let all of us step forward and exercise those leadership abilities, whether it's an ad hoc committee that is assigned for a certain topic, or if it's a certain subject matter that somebody might take the lead on, and let the rest of us follow along. But I very much agree that we all are leaders, we all have things to bring to the table, and we all should be given those opportunities. And the committees are one way of doing that, but certainly not the only way. Thank you.
Okay, with that, let me call for the vote. The school board confirmed the committee liaisons and assignments as detailed in the agenda item. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Stork, Velkop, Reed, Hines, Moon, Terranakofex, Smith, McElveen, and Evans and Strauss. Those opposing? Church and McLaughlin. The motion passes. Next order of business is confirmation of action taken in closed meeting. This is the portion of the meeting where the board will confirm any action regarding issues that were discussed in the closed meeting. These issues may include action taken regarding students who have been recommended for expulsion by the division superintendent. Board members have discussed each individual case and at this time will make several motions to confirm the recommended actions. The first motion comes from Mrs. Strauss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to grant in part the school reassignment appeal of a student and modify the disciplinary decision of the division superintendent.
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Reed. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Strauss, Evans, McElveen, Terranakofex, Moon, McLaughlin, Reed, Velkov. Those opposing? Smith and Hines abstaining. Is a church. The motion passes. The next motion comes from Ms. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. I move that the chairman of the school board be authorized to execute on behalf of the board an amended contract for a member of the leadership team, Dan Paris, as discussed in closed meeting.
I second the motion.
Seconded by Mrs. Reed. And all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. The motion passes unanimously with Mr. Stork away from the table. The next one comes from Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Moon. I move that the employee identified in closed meeting be dismissed from employment.
I second the motion.
Seconded by Mr. Strauss. All those in favor, raise your hand. The vote is unanimous with Mr. Stork away from the table. The motion passes. Next, we have a consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, provide for a consent agenda, listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Most of the items listed under the consent agenda have gone through board committee review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member prior to the meeting. 5.01. Approve the minutes of the April 25, 2013 special meeting and July 11, 2013 regular school board meeting. 5.02. Confirm the separation for the period beginning June 1, 2013 and ending June 30, 2013 as detailed in the agenda item. 5.03. Confirm the appointments and separations for the period beginning April 1, 2013 and ending June 30, 2013 as detailed in the agenda item. 5.04. Adopt a resolution honoring the Mount Vernon High School boys varsity soccer team. 5.05. Accept the Virginia Department of Education designation of Fairfax County Public Schools as the governor's regional school for science and technology in Northern Virginia for 2013 and 2014. 5.06. Approve the charges for 2013-2014 for the following school board citizen advisory committees: Adult and Community Education, Advanced Academic Programs, Career and Technical Education, Facilities Planning Advisory Council, Family and Early Childhood Education Program, Head Start, Human Relations, Minority Student Achievement Oversight, School Health, Students with Disabilities, and Title I District Advisory Council as detailed in the agenda item. 5.07. Appoint Patty Reed, voting delegate, and Jane Strauss, alternate delegate, to the Virginia School Boards Association 2013 Annual Conference. 5.08. Appoint individuals to serve on committees. That's been done, so we'll skip that. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing no objection, the consent agenda is approved. Actually, 5.08 was actually additional appointments. We need to include that as a part of a consent agenda. I was confused with the other committee assignments. I hope there's no objection to include that as a part of a consent agenda. Seeing and hearing no objection, that will become a part of the consent agenda. Next, we have a new business. The following are new business agenda items. There will not be a vote tonight on these items, but action is scheduled at future meeting. 6.01, appoint members to the Family Life Education Curriculum Advisory Committee as detailed in the agenda item. 6.02, adopt the policy 3355.4, high school for science and technology, discussed by the school board. 6.03, award the contract for the chiller replacements at Robinson's Secondary School to the lowest responsible bidder and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. We have superintendent matters. Dr. Garza.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. First of all, tonight, it was such a great and very deserving tribute to Leslie Butts, and so I thought that was wonderful. Also want to thank you for your support of the new members to our leadership team. And then finally, I thought tonight, in terms of affirming the board's commitment to equity for all children, I thought it was very, very nice to hear that this system is so dedicated to equal life chance for all children. I'm excited to announce the Virginia Technology and Engineering Education Association has awarded Fort Belfour, we were talking about earlier tonight, the very prestigious award, the Operation Patriotic STEM Project, as their Program of the Year. The school will be presented the award next week in Hampton. The project will also receive the National Program Excellence Award next spring in Florida. Fort Belfour Elementary School received the grant 3 years ago from the Department of Defense. The 3-year grant is finishing up on August the 1st, and Fort Belfour is submitting a new application for an additional 3 years of funding. Operation Patriotic STEM is a partnership between the Army base, community, and school to provide students with extended out-of-school learning time and STEM enrichment activities designed to reduce the achievement gap. I also want to remind you that we'll have our leadership conference coming up on August the 7th. It's just right around the corner at 8 a.m. at the Center for the Arts on George Mason University's campus. As you know, the conference is the official kickoff of the FCPS school year with the day-long breakout sessions, and I hope that all members of the school board will be able to attend that exciting day. And then finally, as I believe Chairman Moon pointed out earlier this evening, and maybe others have as well, the entire FCPS family was saddened to learn of the passing of Cliff Hardison this week. As principal of West Potomac High School, Cliff was known as a very thoughtful and fiercely dedicated leader and very, very focused on what's best for students in his community. He was a tireless educator for nearly 4 decades and always kept the students, parents, and teachers at the center of his leadership. Cliff will be missed by all of us. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and the West Potomac school community during this very difficult time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Walzer. The next we have a report. This portion of the meeting may include the board committee reports. I will start with July 15th audit committee from Mrs. Strauss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We discussed the pre-K through 12 curriculum and instruction procurement card audit report. We also discussed the state efficiency review, which we certainly hope that the state will go ahead and release this in September. We are beginning to make room in our schedule for that important presentation. It will be up to the state as to when they decide that the report is prime time for the school board. We will not see it, any piece of it, until it is actually presented to us by the state and the consultant in an open session meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Narcofax from July 15th work session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At that session, we had our second work session to discuss the AAP report that was given to us. We talked about what would be happening at our recent board retreat. At that time, the TURF task force presented their report to us, and we also got a report, the year-end budget review.
Thank you. July 18th, public engagement. Mr. Fairfax.
Thank you again. The Public Engagement Committee at that work session talked about the Education Summit, which will be at Edison High School on September 28th. We talked about the moving up the timeline for our student leadership program and also expanding outreach. So we got a greater pool of students from some school. We were just contacting the principals, and now we'll be using guidance counselors, career counselors, and others within the school. And finally, we wrapped up with what we had our successful public engagement activities of the board as a whole and what individual efforts each board members were undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hines, Human Resources.
Yes, we had our Human Resources work session where we talked about working conditions and teacher workload. I want to thank Dr. Garza and Dr. Pajardo for presenting and having a good conversation with us, and also to our employee organizations for being there that night and always being there to help us understand what the needs and concerns are on the ground. We made real progress, and it really is thanks to all those folks for working together. I think that we had a chance to really show our commitment to doing right by our employees, and this is a very good start.
Okay, next we have a board matters, and as you know that we are gonna do a forum discussion after the regular meeting. I know that you are all excited about that, and also this being the last meeting before we go to the August recess, that makes us even more excited. So let me ask your board members to be succinct and brief for the board matters. Mr. Stork.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Much has been said tonight about Cliff Hardison's really premature death, and it truly is affected all of us. I'm truly still digesting it, and when I first learned of it, I was shocked. Not only shocked when I first learned that he had become ill, but that he expired so soon after that. Cliff truly loved the West Potomac, the Richmond Highway community. He made it his home, and not only in terms of the West Potomac community that he started serving in the 1990s, and that's truly when I first met him. My oldest son began attending West Potomac in 1995, and that's when we got to know each other a little bit, and then I became PTA president there and got to know him much more. He was head of counseling then, and just incredibly engaged with students every single day. You saw him everywhere, and sporting events, academic events, musical events, you name it. It was just part of his nature, part of his DNA was to be engaged and be promoting and urging and coaching and really making kids, or trying to help kids see that they had so much power within them. If they would just work hard, they can realize it. And he never, I don't ever remember him giving up on anybody. And there's some kids out there that were pretty tough to hang with because they sure didn't see what was inside them in a way that was at least productive and positive sometimes. Absolutely a friend, clearly a mentor for me, not only in getting to know the West Potomac community sort of from the inside as a PTA president, but also just how to work and treat kids and colleagues and community members, always respectfully, always listening, always smiling and nodding his head, and clearly wanting to bring you into the conversation and really connect you with all the things that he was wanting to do. I think the thing that I think was most powerful about Cliff, though, is that he truly loved kids. That was just his life, and that was all across the board. And one of his deep passions, which I really didn't understand and really didn't see, was when he became principal at West Potomac. He truly charged forward, and maybe a little bit too hard initially, as new principals are wont to do, because they have so much that they want to get accomplished. But truly charged forward because the lessons he had learned not only at West Potomac, but as assistant principal at Hayfield, also sort of a Richmond Highway community as well, and then at TJ, those were all powerful, really, lessons for him that he wanted to share. And I think the most powerful lesson that he wanted to bring forward was that the West Potomac community and the Richmond Highway students have much that they can accomplish. And you can only do that as if you have rigorous courses, you expect mastery level, and you work every single day at that. And you start with the community there, not only the students, which he worked hard with, but also the teachers and the administrators that are there. And he spent an amazing amount of time trying to build that community. Every year I know I got a book from Cliff. I could skim through some of them. Some of them I haven't quite read yet. Cliff, I will read those, I assure you, because your memory is too powerful and your loss is too hurtful to me and so many others. So, Cliff, we will not forget you. Thank you for sharing your life with us.
Mr. Michael.
On Tuesday, Ms. Hines and I made a road trip to Richmond to attend the VSBA Conference on Education, and I'm sure she'll have a couple of words, but she's already, being well organized, has already summarized the nuggets and sent it around, and I'm going to do the same.
Ms. Hines? I'm sorry, Mrs. Reed?
In the interest of time, I'll pass.
Ms. Hines?
We're going to pass. Thank you, Mr. Stork, for your tribute to Cliff Hardison very much. I also want to thank Joanne Hammermaster for still being here from Real Food for Kids. We really all enjoyed the song that the kids put together. Can't wait to see it live. So thanks for all you've done. I know that Real Food for Kids has been behind the scenes making a lot of things happen. So you know how much we appreciate that. I also do want to, I wish that Michael Hairston were here tonight as well to sort of thank him for all that he's done for FEA. But we honored him at his farewell, and I'll have, I'm sure, plenty of chances to talk to him. He's headed back to the classroom, which is pretty exciting. And in fact, in this building, I believe, he'll be teaching right here. So that's great. We'll see him. I did enjoy the VSBA Conference on Education. Discovered, and thank you, Mr. Velkoff, for driving, discovered that there are other districts in the state, in the Commonwealth, that are already doing some exciting things, that are already sort of on their 5-year strategic plans in some ways. And so we have a lot to learn from them. I was glad that we went. I also, Mr. Ash, I want you to let me know when you're going to be in Hunter Mill, okay? Because I want to try to join you. That's a lot of fun. Thank you for doing that. My summer library hours continue. I'll be at Patrick Henry Library in Vienna this Saturday at 10 o'clock. And then my summer supermarket office hours continue on Friday, August 2nd from 9 till noon at the Vienna Giant. Hope to see you there.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
I'll begin with my broken heart and then try to end on an uplifting note. Mr. Stork, thank you for capturing the spirit of Cliff Hardison. Even though I wasn't fortunate to have him as one of my principals, Mr. Hardison reached out to me when I was working on some student discipline issues and invited me to come visit his school so we could talk, board member to principal, about our perspective views. And we ended up spending 3.5 hours together. And he absolutely revealed his warm heart, his dedication to his students. And throughout the time that I was blessed, this 18 months on the school board, to get to know him, he always had a warm smile for me. He always allowed me to have a wonderful exchange. And he actually told me that he shares with the other principals that I'm actually a really nice person and they just need to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with me. So I'm going to dearly miss him in so many ways. But it's not about me. It's about the West Potomac community. And my heart goes out to each and every one of those children and their families and the teachers and employees who have so loved his leadership. And I only hope that each and every one of us who was blessed by his spirit and the ability to know him will carry him with us as we continue our work for this great school system, and his legacy will then live on. On a happy note, I just want to tell my colleagues how incredibly proud I am of the work we did tonight. Some may say it was a simple budget amendment for synthetic turf fields, but I truly believe this was a tremendous step forward in our cultivating this shared and collaborative relationship with our Board of Supervisors. As Mr. Valdkoff pointed out, we've been making great strides, and I just know that tonight's vote is going to reverberate in many positive ways, and so I want to express my personal appreciation. It's a lot of work to try to get a budget amendment through with, as everyone noted, budgetary concerns, and to me it's just a very proud moment that in the end we put our children first and made a really great decision tonight. I have been now appointed to the Audit Committee, and I'm looking forward to the state efficiency review, and I actually believe that we'll be able to find fantastic efficiencies to ensure that this school system continues to focus on student achievement and helping each and every child be successful.
Mr. Anakofax.
Thank you, Chairman Moon. I have been enjoying visiting with principals over the past few weeks. I have visited Carl Sandburg, Springfield Estates, Forestdale, Groveton, Hibla Valley, and Whitman, and we were able to welcome our new principal at Claremont and Stokowski last night at an ice cream social. Visiting these schools, I've been able to observe summer school programs and the kindergarten bridge programs, and I want to tell you the schools and the principals are very excited that we've been able to extend funding to them. So thanks to this board for doing that. They're very, very happy to have that. And finally, I too want to extend my sympathy to the family, students, and staff of West Potomac High School who are grieving today about the sudden loss of their beloved principal, Cliff Hardison. Some of you have known Cliff for many years, and I have had the privilege of knowing him for a mere 18 months. But during that time, he has become a true inspiration to me, as he is to all those who knew him. His ability to see the best in people and the positive side of life truly moved me each and every time we met. And shortly after a contentious board meeting here, I had a meeting scheduled with Cliff a few days later. And he wanted to be certain that I was caring for myself. And he gave me a gift. He gave me a picture of a young girl in a pink dress, and I keep this in my family room in my home. And the caption of the picture illustrates the positive way that Cliff saw things. And it says, "Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning how to dance in the rain." Cliff, your positive influence will always be with me and all of the students, families, and colleagues who knew you. We will all miss you tremendously.
Mr. Smith. Mr. McLevin.
So last Wednesday I got to represent the board at the VSBA Legislative Positions Committee meeting in Charlottesville, and I'm happy to report that all 7 of our positions passed and made it into the state legislative program. Thanks again to Joanne and our friends from the Marshall community. We are really looking forward to the food pilot opening on September 12th. It happens to be the date of our next board meeting, so be sure to be out there that morning. Just a general statement. This is our last meeting before our recess. I'm really proud of what we've done as a board this year, and I think we should always remember that the fruits of our labor are on that side of the dais, and we're really happy that you're with us. And then finally on Cliff Hardison, this past year he was everywhere. Few people would want to attend our SR&R work sessions, but there he was. And he was in the back of the auditorium in just about every event that I went to. And about a month ago, when a lot of us joined him for graduation, when the ceremony was over, for those of you who don't know, I kind of camped out at Patriot Center for about a week doing my work there. And he hung out with me in the green room for a while, and it was clear he didn't want to leave.
Mr. Schultz.
I feel like our team is becoming whole. You know, maybe aging professional teams that lose a bunch of players, when they finally get a team together, they feel this way. But it's almost as if we started in reverse. We got Dr. Garza, and then we went through a Robinson selection process that was protracted, and we got Matt Eilein, who had the opportunity to visit with this Monday and watch him begin to settle in and prepare for this coming school year at our largest school in the division. And then tonight we added Dr. Angela Atwood. And it's so nice because I feel like, at least in my neck of the woods for this division, you know, we're getting to a complete team, and it's a really nice team. And I have to thank Dr. Pajardo for putting together a pretty incredible and very quick cluster assistant superintendent search. And I know not everybody, you know, wound up with their dream job, but to those applicants who did apply, you know, your careers are bright in FCPS or wherever you are. But I just feel very good about Robinson and about Cluster 6 and the division. So I'm very pleased for all the families in my area. And then somebody that I thought of that never gets a shout out, you know, we get a lot of praise for principals and teachers, but our IT staff really rescues us when we have like the worst situations, and water and electronics, or, you know, connectivity, or trying to figure things out. And there are unsung heroes because all of this connectivity happens somehow mystically and magically with some really terrific help from our IT staff. And I'm very, very pleased that Mary Beth Lefglass has picked a winning team for us. Thank you.
Ms. Evans.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say I was very pleased to make the motion tonight to keep Dan Paris with us. I was originally supposed to be offering the motion to honor him, and I was going to this was going to be a bittersweet moment of, and I'm certainly going to keep my remarks for when we do have to bid a fond farewell to him. But I was much happier to be making the motion to keep him with us, and I look forward to continuing to work with him as he works with Dr. Garza in the next coming months. And I want to thank Dr. Garza as well. We had a nice tour of Mason District, Dr. Garza and I appreciate you taking the time and being so interested in my part of the world. So thank you.
Mrs. Strauss.
I just received an email from Teresa Weatherman saying that the state review is scheduled to come to us on September 23rd, the September 23rd work session. So I would like to extend my deepest sympathy to Cliff Hardison's family and to the West Potomac community. I've known Cliff for a very, very long time. He was so thrilled to be the principal at West Potomac. He loved his students, his faculty. I was there for their outstanding production of Young Frankenstein. We had a long chat, and he was so proud of his students and his teachers, and his kids had an opportunity to perform at the Kennedy Center, and again, he was just so proud of that. It is a tremendous loss. We will all miss Cliff, but most of all, I know the West Potomac community will miss him. He was a very, very special educator, so I'm just very sorry for Fairfax County Public Schools, and as an outstanding fellow. Thanks.
For Mr. Hardison, he was an assistant principal at a high school my kids attended and took a personal interest in my kids. And whenever I saw him, he would never forget to ask me how my kids were doing, and I'm going to miss him so much. With that, this meeting is adjourned. We're going to the forum discussion. We'll do the debriefing after the forum. after the